Yeah, so what do you feel like Newcastle should be focusing on this season?
I think for them, it's been the same positions for the last what 2, 3 years, but they've been affected a bit by PSR, right? And you look at their team now, a lot of people that have been good servants for them, helped them in different seasons, but I think the players that are the ones they can most easily improve on in the starting lineup are Fabian Schär and Jacob Murphy. I think they're the two where you look at it and you go, okay, there's a lot of players out there that would be clear improvements on them. And people might look at Murphy and think, oh, okay, he got a lot of goals and assists last season, right? But at the end of the day, his role was a very simplified role, and they could have someone who offers a lot more and is just a lot more dangerous in different ways on the right, So I think those are the positions that are the main focus. But one that they've been linked with, and I'll just start on quickly, is um, a goalkeeper in James Trafford. And I wouldn't say they need necessarily to upgrade on Pope, but I think he's kind of like, if he's one of the few goalkeepers in the market that if you can sign him for a reasonable fee, then it does make sense looking into the future because he adds a bit more on the ball. Like he's good on the ball, helps them build up play,
Mm.
and he can be good in the long term. So I'll say he's a goalkeeper option by asterisk. You don't necessarily need one,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Okay, so you're saying they should be targeting a right winger and a centre back.
yeah, they're the main positions.
Okay, so who have you got in mind for this for a centre back purchase?
Well, I mean, I've got a list here and gone through so many different options, and really, I'll put them all on screen. There's about 12 different options. That was my starting long list for centre backs. A few of them have been linked with other clubs. I just mentioned Christian Mosquera, who's been linked heavily with Arsenal. Zabani, who's been linked heavily with PSG. But they weren't actually my first choices anyway.
Mm.
I kind of simplified this into a top five. And I think any of these five centre back options would be great. They're all a good age and they're all clear upgrades on what shares at the moment.
Okay.
So I'll just go through them. They've got Usman Diamande, who he's been linked heavily with Crystal Palace recently, but I think he'd be good for Newcastle. Mark Gay, similar, linked to Liverpool. Giorgio Scalvini, who's interesting because he's been linked a lot with Newcastle recently. And then the final two are Taylor Harwood Bellis, who I'm a big fan of. You might hear me talk about him in other vids because I think he's just one of the most underrated players in the country. And finally, Ryan Flamingo from PSV. So you've got a list there, five different centre backs, you know, and I genuinely think all of them come in and just elevate your defense as a Newcastle. Just the outlook now changes from a good defense to a defense that can challenge at like Champions League level.
Okay, because if
Yeah.
you ask a lot of Newcastle fans, they're actually big fans of Fabian Schär. So, what is it about him that you feel like can be improved on, or he just doesn't necessarily have compared to the players that you named?
I mean, like let's start with the obvious first. He's 33. He's nearly 34, so he does need to replace soon anyway. But I always thought he's a good player. He has a lot of what you need on the ball. He's very good on the ball. He's a good defender, but I just don't think he's anywhere close to world class, right? And at this point now, Newcastle have about 6 or 7 players in their starting lineup that are at that level where they can play at Champions League level. They could play for the top teams in Europe. I genuinely believe that the fullbacks, top players. And they're still young, but they're growing into that. Especially Livermore, I think he's gonna be world class, like undeniably world class. Gimares, Tonali, Isak, these are all top players. So you now need to just flush out the other positions with just a little bit of extra quality, and then you can start competing with the top four genuinely. I actually think that. Botman I like. Botman I really like, but I think he needs a partner, and Cher's not as good as Botman.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so how about for the right wing position? obviously they have been, or it has been announced that they have signed, or are about to sign Anthony Alanga
Yeah.
for £55 million. Do you feel like that's the right choice for them? Obviously, he does, in my opinion, go well with the Eddie Howe philosophy, uh, physicality first. What do you think about that signing?
Yeah, and you raised some good points. It's interesting because again, I made a list for right wingers, right?
Mhm.
And there were 12 players on it at the start of the summer. I put him there purely because I know they bid for him last year. But honestly, he was my least favorite player on the whole list. On the whole list of 12, he was my least favorite player. I had people like Karim Adeyemi, who I wasn't sure if he'd be able to, if he'd want to leave Dortmund for Newcastle, but I think if he would have been really good. People like Noni Madueke, people like Kubo, who plays for Real Sociedad, all different profiles, right? What I would say is if it looks like Eddie Howe specifically wants someone with a lot of pace, this kind of system where Isak drops deep, but he's so good that he's also able to, beat players in the center and also be good in the box and score goals. Like he's a complete striker, he really is. So if that's what their system is, and you want someone with pace who's going to come inside, score goals, mainly just be doing off the ball runs, work hard both ways. It seems very important to its system. It's all about intensity and stuff,
Yeah,
right? I understand that. And if that's true, I get rid of a whole bunch of people on this list. And really, you're left with people like Adiemi, who I mentioned, Madueke, Brian Mbuemo, and Elanga. They're the four players in the end who do meet that
fit that
threshold.
profile.
That exactly.
Yeah,
And if you're specifically looking for that profile, and it looks like Adiemi, not sure if they'd be able to sign him. As I said, he'd be very expensive as well. Madueke, it seems like Arsenal are going for him, and maybe he'd prefer to go there. And Mbeumo seems like Man United are going for him. Seems like he'd prefer to go there. So maybe Alanga, maybe Alanga ends up being the option that makes the most sense. What I would say about him, right? In the role Jacob Murphy was in last season, I do think he could be someone who ends up getting more goals than Murphy because his pace on the counter attack is very dangerous. It's an extra weapon for Newcastle. I do think he could potentially add more to the team than Murphy.
okay.
But is that the upgrade, like I was saying at centre back, that takes them to
To
the
the
next
next level.
level?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I don't think that takes them to the next
No.
level. I don't think Elanga is gonna be the one who helps them necessarily compete with the rest of the big four or the
Yeah,
rest of the big six because they're all improving. All of them are improving. Liverpool
yeah.
just signed Vitz. City, the fact that's having a phenomenal summer right now,
Mm-hmm.
signed Cherky, Reinders, and Ait Nouri,
Mm-hmm.
upgraded their team massively. Uh,
Arsenal, Chelsea,
yeah, even
yeah.
Tottenham.
So yeah,
It's just they're about to sign Kudus. I
mm-hmm.
mean, what's a signing?
Yeah.
He's adding to
You know,
quite a
he,
promising
he
team
he was on
already.
the list by the way of right wing options, but it's like he's not a right winger to me. But I still felt like if they were going for some of the other types, more of a creative type, then it could have worked as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay, so let's assume their signings are uh so Elanga and
Alanga. So
let's and
so
one of the
so
centre
yeah,
backs
so
again.
those centre backs, right? I narrowed it down to five, and then my first choice, I guess, would actually be out of Scalvini and Howard Bellis to me, and like that shows how highly I rate Howard Bellis because I watch him. I think he's great in the air, great 1v1, and a great passer. Like if you're good at all of those things, you're a very high level centre back. I think he's
Yeah.
got good positioning as well. I think he really. It was never going to be like he plays for Southampton, the worst team in the league, in a five-back system, and he's able to show that he's a top player.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good you are,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to do
Rarely
anything.
works like that.
Yeah, but I think he's got high level potential, and obviously Eddie Howe seems to like a lot of English players as well.
Hmm.
I think he'd be a good fit. But Scalvini, he's really good as well. Um,
Obviously, he's had injury problems
that's
for the
that's
last
the
couple of years.
yeah, a bit of an asterisk with him. But all of them on the list, Mark Gay. If we have Mark Gay and Botman, that's the top centre back partnership.
Yeah.
It's got everything you need, one
Yeah.
v one and on the ball. Flamingo. I really like him. I really like him. Very smart, very great, very good passer. Like very just technically, he's very good on the ball.
Mhm.
Like any of them would be good, honestly. So for me, it's hard to get it wrong. With that one,
Do you
I
feel like
yeah.
okay, so let's assume they do sign one of Scalvini and Howard
Mm.
Bellis, and then obviously add to Elanga. Do you feel like there are any other areas they could improve on?
Yeah, I think then you look at their team, and the main thing is really a striker because they've lost Callum Wilson, so it's really just Isak.
Hmm.
They wanted Jao Pedro, and that was interesting because he would have been obviously a great like rotation option, but also he could play in that Joe Linton role.
Yeah.
So I understand why they wanted that, and that's the best case because then you can get a high level player who it's hard to get a high level player who's just happy to be back up to Isak.
Hmm.
But if they can play in multiple positions, then more likely
Okay.
you can entice them, right?
Okay.
But yeah, there's a few options I've looked at for strikers as well.
Yeah. So I would just like to add, personally, I think they could do with another fullback.
Yeah, which
Right now
side?
they have so their fullback options are Livramento, Trippier for the right back, and
Yeah,
then Lewis Hall
target, I
and Matt
guess.
Target. I
Yeah,
feel like they could improve on Matt Target.
I agree.
Lewis Hall's still young. You saw he had quite a long injury last season,
Yeah,
so yeah, he could do with a bit more experience, better experience cover than Matt Target.
I agree.
And
At times they would play Dan Burn left
yeah,
back if not
yeah,
target,
yeah, yeah.
but
I feel like they could improve their depth in midfield as well. Because whenever one of Tonali or Guimaraes get injured, uh, Longstaff is coming in, and
yeah.
I don't think he's close to leaving
Yeah,
Newcastle.
he's been linked with Leeds. I think they've made a 12 mil bid, but I think I just saw it got rejected. So
Mm,
it'll be interested to see if he goes. Yeah, all of those positions you said, I agree. Those are the next stage. After
yeah.
I feel like the three positions, striker because they don't have enough players, and centre back and right winger, they're the main
Okay.
areas. But then after that, you start looking at where can you improve the depth. And yeah,
Okay.
I agree with all of those.
And
Yeah.
also, if we're talking starting 11 where they can improve, in my opinion, Anthony Gordon. This would be quite a controversial one. I think he's a good player, but I do think for them to challenge with the teams above them,
Mm-hmm.
they will eventually need to improve on him.
I've got to agree as
Do you
well.
feel like right now he's fine to be
So,
starting,
so
or
I didn't go through it fully, but so when was ranking the positions they need to improve on,
hmm,
so number one was Murphy, number
okay,
two was Cher, three, four, five was tough in my mind, and is between Pope, Joelinton, and Gordon. And I ended up putting Gordon fifth because not really because of him. I think he's a good, solid all rounder, but more because of the left winger market. And I've seen Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Chelsea, Arsenal all going for left wingers this summer and struggle for options.
yeah,
So I just look at it and I'm like, how realistic is it and how much would it cost for them to get someone better than Gordon? So that's why you can push that along to the future. Yeah, he's solid. He does his job well. He works really hard. Got pace, suits the
hmm,
system, goals and assists sometimes. Yeah.
okay, okay. Well, so with everything considered, so let's say they sign James Trafford, Anthony Elanga, and one of Howard Bellis or Scalvini,
Any of
and
those centre backs, to be honest. But yeah,
they all potentially go into the starting 11. What do you think they can aim for next season?
then I think top six is the best they can aim for, and that's the problem because they finished fifth last season. Couple of clear improvements at centre back and maybe in goal. Slight improvement in
Yeah,
goal. But for them to really challenge that top four, because I think Chelsea will improve next season. I think Liverpool, I think Arsenal and City will all improve. I think all of them will improve. Because of that, I don't think the Elanga improvement is enough. That's my opinion. And I just the one comparison, just like if I think tactically, is like that they can aim for is Klopp's Liverpool, right?
mm,
Another team that was based on intensity, the style of play. They also had really good overlapping fullbacks and things like that. I would argue Newcastle's midfield might be better than the midfield that Liverpool using at their peak. So and Isak probably better than Firmino. So there's areas where they can really strive for that level of a team. But they had Salah and Mane out wide, and you compare that to Alanga and Gordon, it's just levels and levels and levels apart. Like
Yeah.
it's you got two workmen like guys,
Hmm.
and I feel like without that special quality, they're gonna struggle to get into the top four.